Matatag Curriculum, English 4, Quarter 1, Lesson 1, Comprehend Literary Text. I will present the learning competencies and objectives for our lesson. By the end of this session, the learners are expected to: number 1, identify the setting, characters, and plot. Number 2, sequence the events of a narrative, at least 6 events. Number 3, make predictions. Number 4, draw conclusions based on the text read. Today, we're going to explore 3 important reading strategies and concepts that will help you become better readers and thinkers. First, we'll talk about making predictions, how we can use clues from the text to guess what might happen next. Next, we will review the elements of a story, like characters, settings, plot, and the theme, to better understand how stories are built. And finally, we'll look at the drawing conclusions, how we combine details from the story with what we already know to figure out deeper meanings. Day 1. Do you remember a familiar Filipino folktale just by looking at the pictures? Which Filipino folktale do you know? Do you still remember these folktales? Like The Monkey and the Tortoise and Legend of Pineapple. And now, let's try to answer the following questions. Number 1. Who are the characters in the story? Number 2. What problem did the characters encounter? Number 3. What was the most memorable part of the story? And number 4, what lesson does the story teach us? Today, we're going to have a fun activity that will help us learn new words better. It's called the word family tree. I'll show you a chart called the word family tree, and you're going to choose one word from our word list. Here are the words we can choose from: deeper, parch, spill, refresh, and unselfish. Once you choose your word, you will first look up its meaning in a dictionary. Second, write a few synonyms. These are words that mean almost the same. Third, find a sentence where you read or heard that word, maybe from a book, a story, or even something you've heard. Lastly, make your own sentence using the word. Note, you can use the word family tree printed on your paper. But if you want to be more creative, you can draw it on manila paper or even on the board and present it to the class. Are you ready to become word explorers? Let's begin! Day 2. Let's define a story. Stories have characters, setting, series of events, and moral lessons. Class, today we're going to read a story called The Legend of the Deeper. This story was originally written by Carolyn Sherwin Bailey in 1906, and later, a storytelling version was created by J. Berg Esentwine and Marietta Stockard for a speech competition. For our lesson today, the 2 versions were combined and slightly changed so that it's easier for us to understand and enjoy. Before we read our story today, let's take a quick look at the stars in the sky. This group of stars is called a constellation. One of the most famous constellations is the Big Dipper. Can you see how the stars form a shape that looks like a dipper or a water scoop? The Big Dipper is part of a bigger constellation called Ursa Major, which means Great Bear. It's made up of 7 bright stars, 4 that form the bowl, and 3 that make the handle. Many cultures around the world have stories or legends about this star pattern. Today, we'll hear a legend that explains why the Dipper is in the sky. Let me also show you a photo of a tin dipper, just like the one used in the story. This will help you picture the events better. So as we read, try to imagine how the dipper is used by the main character and why it's so important in the story. Are you ready? Let's begin our journey through the stars and discover the legend of the Dipper. The legend of the Dipper. A kind act is often its own reward. There had been no rain in the land for a very long time. It was so hot and dry that the land was parched and brown, and even the big, strong trees were dying. The water dried up in the creeks, and the fountains stopped bubbling. So now, let's try to make a prediction. What could the people feel in this kind of setting? What makes you say that? Possible answer? The people would likely feel desperate, exhausted, and worried because of the extreme heat and lack of water. Without rain, their crops would fail, and they might struggle to find enough water for drinking and daily needs. The dying trees and dried up creeks would make survival even harder, leading to a sense of hopelessness and fear. What do you think would be the problem of the main character who is a little girl? Answer: the little girl might be struggling to find water for her family or community. She could be facing difficulties in keeping her loved ones or animals alive due to the drought. Her problem might also involve finding a way to help others, showing kindness and generosity despite the hardships. All the people and creatures were so thirsty. Everyone felt weak. There was one little girl whose mother grew very ill. "I must have a drink of clear cold water," cried the mother as she lay in bed, so weak and suffering from thirst. What do you think the little girl will do? Why do you think so? Possible answer: the little girl will likely go on a journey to find water for her mother, even if it is difficult or dangerous. She loves her mother and wants to help her feel better. Since the story is about kindness, she might also share any water she finds with others in need. Her determination and compassion will probably lead her to an unexpected reward. The little girl took her tin dipper and began her search for water in the dark night. By and by, she found a tiny little spring up on a mountainside. It was almost dry. The water dropped ever so slowly from under the rock. The girl held her dipper carefully and caught the drops. She waited a long time until the dipper was full of water. Then she started down the mountain holding the dipper carefully, for she didn't want to spill a single drop. What made it difficult for the little girl to get water? Answer: the little girl faced several challenges in getting water. The spring was almost dry, so she had to wait a long time to collect enough drops. It was also night time, making it harder to see and navigate the mountainside. She had to be very patient and careful not to spill the water. Do you think she will have an easy time on her way back home? What do you think will happen next? Possible answer: she will likely face obstacles on her way back, such as rough terrain, darkness, or even others who are desperate for water. She might encounter thirsty animals or people who need water, testing her kindness. Since the story is about the reward of kind acts, she may choose to share the water, and something magical or unexpected might happen as a result. On the way, she passed a poor little dog who had been following her. The dog was panting for breath and was so thirsty. The little girl looked at her deeper, then poured some water into her hand and held it down for the little dog. He lapped it up quickly and felt so refreshed. The little girl didn't notice, but her tin dipper had changed into a silver dipper and was just as full of water as it had been before. What do you think the little girl will do? Why do you think so? Possible answer: the little girl will likely continue her journey home, but she may encounter more thirsty creatures or people along the way. Since she is kind and generous, she will probably share more water without hesitation. She doesn't realize that her act of kindness is being rewarded, which suggests that she will keep helping others simply because she cares. Why do you think the tin dipper turned into silver? Possible answer: the tin dipper likely turned into silver as a magical reward for the little girl's kindness and selflessness. This transformation suggests that acts of generosity and compassion bring unexpected blessings. The fact that the water remained full symbolizes that kindness never leaves a person empty. It multiplies and brings goodness in return. The little girl started on again, hurrying very fast, for she remembered how much her mother needed her. But she had not gone very far when she met a stranger in the road. He was tall, and his eyes looked down with a wonderful smile into the little girl's face. He begged for a drink of the clear, cold water. What do you think the girl will do? Why do you think so? Possible answer: the little girl will likely share her water with the stranger, just as she did with the thirsty dog. She has already shown that she is kind and willing to help others. Even though she is in a hurry to bring water to her mother, her natural generosity will guide her to offer water again. What will happen next? Possible answer: since the story has a magical element, the little girl might receive another unexpected reward for her kindness. Her dipper could transform again, perhaps into gold, or the water might become endless, ensuring that she has enough for everyone, including her mother. The stranger might also turn out to be a magical figure or someone with the power to grant blessings. The little girl thought that her mother told her to always be kind to strangers. So, she held the water up to the stranger. Suddenly, as the stranger drank, the silver dipper was changed into gold, full to the brim with sparkling water. Why do you think the silver dipper turned into gold? Possible answer: the silver dipper likely turned into gold as a magical reward for the little girl's continued kindness. Each time she shares, the dipper transforms, symbolizing that generosity brings even greater blessings. The story emphasizes that selflessness and compassion lead to unexpected reward. What will happen next? Possible answer: the little girl will likely continue her journey home to give the water to her mother. Along the way, she may encounter more people or creatures in need. And if she shares again, the dipper might transform once more, perhaps into something even more extraordinary. When she finally reaches her mother, the water may have special healing properties, making her mother well again. The stranger might also reveal his true identity, possibly as a magical being or guardian to acknowledge the girl's goodness. The little girl hurried along as fast as she could go. She was so tired and thirsty, but she would never take a drink herself. Her mother needs all the water that was left. She finally arrived home, and then came the greatest wonder of all. What do you think will happen next? Possible answer: her mother might drink the water and feel better. Something magical might happen again because of the girl's unselfishness. Maybe the dipper will change again or something wonderful will happen in the sky. The little girl held the gold dipper to her mother's lips, and as the mother drank, she became well and strong once more. And the gold dipper was changed to a diamond dipper, shining and glittering with gems. Something magical is about to happen. What do you think it might be? Possible answer: the diamond dipper might rise to the sky and become a constellation to remind people of the girl's goodness. The diamond dipper left the little girl's fingers to shine up in the sky. It shines every night to remind all little children that there was this little girl who was brave, kind, and unselfish. And that is the end of the story. Now that we've finished reading the story, let's try to answer these questions. Number 1. What makes the girl brave? Answer: she went out alone in the hot, dry weather, even when she was tired and thirsty, just to find water for her mother. Number 2. What makes the little girl kind and unselfish? Answer: she gave water to strangers and animals first before thinking of herself. And even when she was very thirsty, she saved all the water for her sick mother. Lastly, which part of the story do you like best? Possible answer: I like the part where the dipper turned into a diamond and flew into the sky. It was magical and showed how much the girl's actions were appreciated. So now, what we just did was make predictions. Making predictions means using what you already know and what you see or read to guess what might happen next in a story. When we make predictions, we are like detectives. We look for clues in the pictures, words, and actions of the characters to guess what could happen next. When you make predictions, remember to: first, use clues. Look at details from the story or situation to help guess what might happen next. Second, think about patterns. Consider what usually happens in similar situations or what has happened before. Third, use your knowledge. Apply what you already know to interpret the information. Lastly, make a judgment. Decide what you believe is the most likely outcome or meaning based on the information and your analysis. Day 3. Elements of a short story. Before we proceed to the activity, let's first watch some videos about the elements of a story. Please listen attentively and feel free to take important notes in your notebook or on a piece of paper. And now, let's watch The Elements of the Story Rap by Jed Bloom, 2017.
If you wanna stay relevant, gotta stick to the elements. If you wanna get the story, then repeat these words for me. Exposition, rising action, then you got the climax. Falling action, resolution, go ahead and try that. Exposition, rising action, then you got the climax. Falling action, resolution, go ahead and try that. First comes the exposition, also called setting. No setup for the story, then we don't know where it's heading. Got to make clear where the story takes place. Introduce characters, just give you a taste. Introduce time and place, try to set the mood. For example, give your character a little attitude. Get to know a bit about the location before you get into the drama situation. Next is rising action, conflict is coming. Story started stable, now it's off and running. Rising action is the drama, getting hot. It thickens up the story, it thickens up the plot. The plot is the events that make up a story. With no rising action, you know it's gonna bore me. The more conflict, the more intensity. I hear the hook calling my name. What's that you sent for me? If you wanna stay relevant, gotta stick to the elements. If you wanna get the story, then repeat these words for me. Exposition, rising action, then you got the climax. Falling action, resolution, go ahead and try that. Exposition, rising action, then you got the climax. Falling action, resolution, go ahead and try that. Here comes the climax, the most exciting part. It was leading to this moment from the very start. All the drama, pressure, and back and forth fighting. It's coming to a point, yes, it's so nail-biting. The climax is the turning point, like an explosion. Like when the glass beaker can no longer hold the potion. Like a final battle, it shakes with suspense. The climax, the energy, it's all so intense. Exhale, it's time for falling action. For so long, the story was gaining traction. But after the climax, the tension decreases. All of the emotion now releases. Falling action tries to patch things up. Although events happen, nothing really erupts. Conflict resolved, and now a relaxation. Moving toward the end, there's a calm sensation. The final element, it's the resolution. Every story's gotta have a big conclusion. Wrap the story up, it's time to be closing. Characters are finished for the story that you've chosen. No more conflict, but maybe there's a lesson. What were the issues that made the characters stressing? Maybe now they learned, maybe now they've grown. Resolution is where the great lesson is shown.
And now, let's watch Short Story Elements by Nicole Hess, 2014. Before we start, let's define what a short story is. A short story is a made up or real story that is short and has a beginning, middle, and end. It usually has a few characters, a setting, a problem, and a solution. Elements of a short story. Characters. Characters are the people or animals in the story. Example, a brave girl, a talking dog, or a kind teacher. Setting. Setting is the time and place where the story happens. Example, in a forest during the day or at school in the morning. Conflict. Conflict is the main problem or challenge the character faces. Example, a boy loses his homework or a bird gets stuck in a cage. Plot. The plot is what happens in the story. It has a beginning, middle, and end. It shows how the characters deal with a problem and how it gets solved. Example, Goldilocks and the Three Bears. Beginning. Goldilocks finds a house in the forest and goes inside because she is curious. Middle. She tries the bear's porridge, chairs, and beds, each time choosing the one that feels just right. End. The bears come home and find her. Goldilocks wakes up, gets scared, and runs away. Theme. It is what the story is really about, or what it teaches us. This is the lesson or message of the story. Example, be kind, don't give up, and always tell the truth. Point of view. The point of view tells us who is telling the story. For example, in the first person point of view, the character tells the story using I or my. Example, I look for my dog in the backyard. And in the third person point of view, a narrator tells the story using he, she, or they. For example, Maya walked to school and saw her best friend. Dialogue. Dialogue is the talking or conversation between characters in the story. For example, where are you going? Asked Anna. To the park, replied Liam. Note, quotation marks show when someone is speaking. Style. Style is how the author writes the story, the words they choose and how they tell it. For example, some authors use funny or simple words, others use exciting or poetic words. One story might sound like how we talk every day, another might sound like a fairy tale. Tone. Tone is the feeling or mood of the story, how the author wants you to feel. For example, happy tone. The sun was shining and everyone laughed as they played. Sad tone. Tears rolled down her cheeks as she waved goodbye. Scary tone. The wind howled and the door creaked open slowly. And lastly, symbolism. Symbolism is when something in the story stands for a bigger idea or message. Example, a heart might stand for love. A storm might stand for trouble or problems. A light might stand for hope. And now, let us try to fill in the story map. Let's have an activity. Read each statement carefully. Choose the correct answer from the choices. Are you ready? Number 1. What is the setting of a story? A. The main problem. B. The talking in the story. C. The time and place where the story happens. Or letter D. The lesson learned. Number 2. Which one is an example of a character? A. A talking cat named Whiskers. B. A sunny afternoon. C. A broken chair. Or letter D. A big mountain. Number 3. What does the plot of a story tell us? A. The names of the characters. Letter B. The events that happen in order. Letter C. The weather in the story. Or letter D. The title of the story. Number 4. What is the conflict in a story? A. The happy ending. B. The funniest part. Letter C. The problem the character must solve. Or letter D. The name of the main character. Number 5. What is the theme of a story? A. The place where the story happens. Letter B. The lesson or message of the story. Letter C. The beginning of the story. Or letter D. The name of the author. Number 6. What do we call the person or animal the story is mostly about? A. Setting. Letter B. Theme. Letter C. Main character. Or letter D. Dialogue. Number 7. Which part of the story shows how the problem is solved? Letter A. Conflict. Letter B. Ending. Letter C. Beginning. Or letter D. Theme. Number 8. What do we call the part where the characters talk to each other? A. Plot. B. Dialogue. C. Style. Or letter D. Conflict. Number 9. In the story Jack and the Beanstalk, what is the main conflict? A. Jack wants to buy a cow. B. Jack climbs the beanstalk and meets a scary giant. C. Jack plays with his friends. Or letter D. Jack grows vegetables in his garden. Number 10. Which one shows a story's theme? A. A girl learning to be kind to others. B. A tree standing tall. C. A map of the forest. Or letter D. A list of characters. And now, let's check your answers. Number 1. What is the setting of a story? The answer is letter C. The time and place where the story happens. Number 2. Which one is an example of a character? The answer is letter A. A talking cat named Whiskers. Number 3. What does the plot of a story tell us? The answer is letter B. The events that happen in order. Number 4. What is the conflict in a story? The answer is letter C. The problem the character must solve. Number 5. What is the theme of a story? The answer is letter B. The lesson or message of the story. Number 6. What do we call the person or animal the story is mostly about? The answer is letter C. Main character. Number 7. Which part of the story shows how the problem is solved? The answer is letter B. Ending. Number 8. What do we call the part where characters talk to each other? The answer is letter B. Dialogue. Number 9. In the story Jack and the Beanstalk, what is the main conflict? The answer is letter B. Jack climbs the beanstalk and meets a scary giant. Number 10. Which one shows a story's theme? The answer is letter A. A girl learning to be kind to others.
Maraming salamat sa panonood. Huwag kalimutang mag-like, mag-share at mag-subscribe para lagi kang updated sa ating mga lesson. Hanggang sa muli!